e-conference. The topic of today's international e-conference is creating harmony in the classroom. The college, Sri Kumar Swami College, Ausa, and Government College of Education, Nanded. Both colleges have jointly organized this international e-conference. The purpose behind this international e-conference is to exchange knowledge among students, researchers, teachers, academicians, intellectuals, and knowledge seekers. I welcome both the chief organizers, Honorable Principal Dr. M. Ambedkar sir from Sri Kumar Swami College, Ausa, and Honorable Dr. Urmila Dhut ma'am from Government Education College, Nanded. I welcome you both, sir and ma'am, as the chief organizers. Today, I feel immense pleasure to welcome Honorable keynote speaker and chief guest, Christine Lynn Jones ma'am from Mishawaka, USA. She is going to deliver her lecture on the topic, as I noted before, creating harmony in the classroom. But before the beginning of the keynote speech, I would like to invite Honorable Principal Dr. M. Ambedkar sir for his opening words. Please, sir, welcome. Welcome. Thank you, sir. Now, without spending much time, I would like to invite Honorable keynote speaker Christine Lynn Jones ma'am for her presentation. Please, ma'am, welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the warm welcome, and I'm honored to be here. So thank you again. So the keynote speaking is going to be about creating harmony in a classroom, and how do we create harmony in a classroom? So based upon my background knowledge, I have taught 31. I'm on my 31st year of teaching this year. So I still enjoy teaching. I love what I do. And I find passion every single day in giving back to my students. I have a background in special education. I've also was a foster parent for children that needed families, and then I adopted. And I also have a child on the autism spectrum and my master's in special ed. So all of that combined has given me a unique viewpoint to look at education and how to help others. One of the things that I'm very passionate about is making sure that children can stay in school. My daughter was suspended 34 times in the school system, so I want to avoid that, and I want to make sure that we are being purposeful when we are building our classrooms. So what does that look like? How do we create harmony in the classroom? So first of all, before I ever get my students, I am thinking about inclusion first and foremost. How can I include my students? I take a look at my classroom. Is it visually? I take a look at it. I take a look at it auditorily, like behind me, you can hear a blower. So if I'm hearing a blower, that's going to be distracting to children. So you don't want to be placing them near that. So you want them placed further away from that. Children that are on the autism spectrum, it's overpowering. So I give them power to be able to say that's too loud. So my students are able to cover up their ears. And everybody knows when somebody covers up their ears, that's a signal for us to lower our voice. So I give the children a voice too, so that way they can feel empowered to be able to make the changes that they need. So in my classroom, it is pretty plain on the walls. This is not my classroom. My classroom's being used currently, so I used another person's classroom. But my classroom it's very plain on the walls. I have anchor charts and that kind of thing. Anchor charts tell the students what to do and what the procedures are. On the carpet, because children like colors, brighter colors, that's on the floor. So when you look around the classroom, it is very neat and organized. There's nothing on the counters for the most part, so it's not visually distracting. All of my bins are in white bins, so that helps too. Lighting, you have to think about lighting. Fluorescent lighting is very bright. It gives children headaches. So you should have task lighting, like smaller lamps placed around, and that will help with the flickering of the lights. So those are just some of the ways that we can build inclusivity within our classrooms. So if you have a student that's struggling, I highly suggest that you literally sit in their space and see what it feels like. What do you hear? What do you see? What do you feel? What is on their tables? So then that way we can be inclusive and we can help that student. So as we're talking about how to be inclusive, we want to make sure that we're also taking a look this goes into empathy. When we have empathy for others, we are able to take a look at the student's perspective and what that looks like. So children need to be seen, valued, and heard. So how do we make sure that students are seen, valued, and heard? We do that by putting ourselves in our students' shoes and making sure that if they have anything that's coming up, any questions that they have, that we are being respectful and we are listening to them and helping them with coming up with solutions. So not every child in my classroom is treated exactly the same because we're all individuals. So individual needs are also met in my classroom. I'm going to tell you, when we do those things, it will bring back our joy and our happiness to teaching, and it lessens the stress of the day-to-day, because what you're going to have is you're going to have happier children. The other thing I focus in on is making sure that we are providing like a way for the whole group to work together. So I give team points. So and how I do that. So sometimes they're not learning ready. I'm like, oh, and I grab the pen and I'm just like, I would really, really, really like to give you a team point. So I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out to my principal. He is here today. It's Brian Harris. So thank you very much for letting me come on today. So we do team points. So then that way everybody can have a part and work together for inclusivity instead of giving individual points where it takes away from the group. So it's bringing everybody together. So what I found when we do that, we have children that are happy, they're engaged, and they want to work as a team, and the behavior problems are minimized. So in my classroom, there's not a whole lot of behaviors. Yes, we have some children that have things that are have situations that are not in our control, but it's not due to relationships. It's due to personal kinds of struggles. So that's one thing I would like to point out. So my book, Creating Harmony in a Classroom, goes over the things that I've talked about. Another thing that we need to take a look is, first of all, social and emotional learning, because children need to be able to have self-control in order to be able to learn. So right now, in the United States, it's kind of flipped. So academics are first, and then we sprinkle a little bit of that social emotional learning in. But what's happening is our students are struggling. So what we need to do is to take a look at that social emotional learning. And then what we need to do is to bring down critical thinking skills and let children solve some of the problems themselves with assistance. So you're asking them to so in my classroom, I start like, we are problem solvers. How do we solve this problem? So I am the mediator. I am not the problem solver. So as soon as we do that, we are empowering students to take initiatives and also empowering them to know that they can solve problems, they can solve hard things with guidance. So that is one of the things that I think is very important. So if we do the social emotional learning and then we pull in the critical thinking skills into that part, and then the critical thinking skills then become a bridge to the academics. So I have found this to be very helpful because it empowers students. I also have, when children feel empowered, I have some children that are struggling that will help out other students and help them with their social emotional regulations. So it's the very same students that we are trying to help. So when we empower our students that are struggling themselves to become helpers for others, we level everybody benefits from that. So that's part of the background of what we need to do in our classrooms to have them successful. And my lights just went on, I guess, because nobody was here. I don't know. Anyways, so there was, I also wanted to talk about how to prevent burnout. So I have been teaching for 31 years. It is constantly changing. Every single year it changes. So how do you prevent burnout? So one of the key things that I found is to preventing burnout is to have a global view. And so this is why I also appreciate this group, because having a global viewpoint, lessons like in the classroom, things become minimalized because you have a higher purpose. So that's one of the things I would strongly urge people to do. If they're feeling stressed, just reach out and connect with other people, other educators around the world. And you're going to find that there's more similarities than there are differences. And we can all help each other and get a network going of support for educators. So the other thing with preventing burnout is what I do is I already have next year's plans already done. It's already done. So how I do that is by making sure that I look at what I'm doing currently and I say, oh, I want to go ahead and go ahead and change that. Or I like this. And so I'll keep it, because what I noticed is when I start the next year, I forget. I'm like, oh, wait, what did I do first? And then I noticed I was wasting a lot of time. So if you, as you're teaching it, you're like, oh, I want this to happen. I like this needs to be changed. You can make notes. You can build it as you're doing it, and it doesn't take as much time. So my tier 1 instruction for next year is built out. I have extra things, more than what I need, so I can go, oh, based on my class this year, they may or may not need this, but I have it already. So that enables me to really focus in on the tier 2, which is the group work and individualized instruction, without having to build tier 1 and tier 2 and tier 3, because I think that's where teachers start to get really, really burnt out, because they have so much to do. And then they have the new initiatives that they have to try to figure out and how to navigate. So that part is also what I would like to mention. So at this time, because we're probably about halfway through, I wanted to see if we could open up the floor at this time, or if you would like me to continue to talk. Okay, so I'll keep on going. So another book that I have out is called Building the Bridge Between Bridging the Educational Gap Between Home and School. So another person that I met on LinkedIn. We had looked at each other's posts and we were writing very similarly. So we knew that it would be a good fit for us to join forces and to make a larger impact on education. So we came up with a book, Bridging the Educational Gap. What we noticed is we wanted to, first of all, find a pain point. So if you want to make a change in education, you have to find a pain point. So both of my books, Creating Harmony in the Classroom, as well as Bridging the Educational Gap between home and school, have a pain point. So we've looked for a Venn diagram. There was no Venn diagram to be found between home and school. And we know the importance of working together between home and school, yet there has been nothing developed. So what we did is we took a look at that and we created a framework between home and school. What we found was there was a much more overlapping between home and school than there was in separate areas. What we've done is we've set up a book that can now be used to coach other teachers or could coach coaches that are going to be working with teachers, as well as a parent program. So the book goes through social and emotional learning. It talks about what to do if you have behavior problems, what to do first, and then what to do after that. It talks about routines, setting up routines in the morning and at night to set up success for our students. So it's important that we include parents in when we talk to parents too, we want to include them. We don't want to say, make a phone call and say, your child's doing X, Y, and Z. The very first phone call I make is, hi, I am here to help. I need your help. We're here to work together on this. And I need your help. What are your thoughts? So I give them some of my thoughts and then I'll ask their thoughts. Sometimes it's a really, really tricky one. I will ask their thoughts first about what, if they have any suggestions. And then I'll say, well, I've tried this and this. What do you think? Do you think that might work? So when we start bringing parents in as partners, we have a very different relationship with them. It has helped me stop situations that could become potentially like where my principals are saying, hey, Mrs. Jones, this is a problem. Come in, let's talk. So those problems are kept to a minimum, which also protects your joy as a teacher, because when we work as a partner, instead of, like, oh gosh, I can't believe, this or that, or, have taken a tone with parents, it has a very different feel to it. So with that being said, the book also goes into taking notes and taking it to doctors and specialists, and also taking the book to parent-teacher conferences or notes from the doctor, like medications and those kinds of things. So this book is all encompassing. It has charts and that kind of thing. So I just spoke to somebody the other night, and they found it very, very helpful, the book, and they were struggling with having their child take responsibility for like a schedule. So we talked about how we could use a picture schedule. The picture schedules and they're just pictures, and you can list them in order, and the child can remove them and put them on. We often use that for autism, but it doesn't have to be just for autism. It could be used to have students take personal responsibility for either their schedule or for their learning, and without us having to direct them each step of the way. So we could do check-ins and see where they are on their board and say, and we can say, oh, this, we need to kind of speed this area up. How can I give support? Or, well, this is working really good. So then it would be like a gradual release once the child is able to do this for like 30 days, because usually after 30 days, it becomes a habit. Then we can release it, and then the children can just go ahead and do it independently. So the goal is always to be able to do things independently, but they need us to help scaffold it. And each child has different scaffolding needs. The other part I would like to talk about is teachers' mindset. So honestly, that probably should have been the very first thing I talked about. And that is the very first thing that I discuss in my book, which is teachers' mindsets. So when we have a growth mindset, we are open to possibilities. And we do not shut down new ideas, or we don't get overwhelmed with new ideas presented to us. What I like to do is take a look at new ideas and how does it fit into my background knowledge or schema already? And how can I, do I need to look at things differently? Is my previous way that I was doing things working or not working? So I'm going to give an example of something that I did that showed a growth mindset. I was a coach, and I had read an article on the science of reading. And I thought I needed to delve into that more because it was different than what I was already being educated on, through our school corporation. So I started to dive in, and we started to dive in together. So what you have here is you have a collaborative of individuals that are learning new things together. So I was not the expert. I was also learning right alongside of that other teacher. And so we were looking at data, we were collecting data, we were checking to see if it was working or not working. What do we need to do to improve it, to change it? So I already had data before with my students, and so I was comparing the two. So I think it's very important as educators that we stay abreast of new trends and keeping an open mind, because sometimes the new way is a better way, and it's better for our students and also more beneficial to our students. The other thing is also talking about like classroom environment. Something that I did not bring up that's really, really important is talking about working together as a group. You need to understand the group dynamics. You need to understand individuals and how they play a part in the group. So if I see a student that starts even moving away, I know, I need to address this right away to prevent any behavior problems from continuing. So that's one thing that I do, and it helps immensely because it prevents disruptions in the education setting. I can keep on teaching without having the interruptions. So I am blessed with an aide. If you don't have an aide, sometimes I will also contact our social worker and have them come in. But any way that you can sometimes I'll have my aide take over just for a minute so I can talk. So did you want me to continue or stop? I can't hear you.
Ma'am, please continue.
You want me to continue? Okay. All right. So that is knowing your students and teaching social and emotional intelligence to your students and empowering them helps them to develop empathy themselves and creates an environment that is supportive, safe, and nurturing. So when we talk about safety, there is emotional safety. So when we want to make sure that our children feel safe, because when they feel safe, they are willing to take chances academically. So that's very important. So children, if it's low risk to them because they know it's a safe environment, they will try to expand and do harder things. That's another thing. Sometimes our children have what I would say is a closed mindset, and they're already shut down before they're ever given an assignment. So we talk about, I could do hard things. So with my students that start to shut down, I give them like a cheer, and I make sure that they give me a solid, I can do this, I can do hard things. And I make them repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, because that mindset, changing their mindset, will give them success. And making sure that they have that rigor that they need to be able to do hard things, because as soon as they tell themselves they can't, they have they do not have rigor and they're not going to be able to do it. So making sure that we instill that mindset with our students is extremely important. So I also have those like one-on-one conferences as well as the academic conferences with them, but also the conferences where we focus in on their mindset, because that is the foundation of whether they're going to be successful or not successful in our classroom. So again, making sure that we take care of ourselves first and foremost, because if we don't take care of ourselves, we cannot take care of our students. So finding a good, strong support system is extremely important, especially if we are going through harder things in our lives. Having a strong support system helps us work through those and being able to push through and excel. I recommend having a growth mindset and making sure that you are pushing yourself every day to be better than you were the day before. And making sure that you are doing self-check-ins. How am I regulating myself during this moment? And do I need some inner work done to be able to reach my students better? So those are some of the suggestions that I have. So I wanted to thank you very much for allowing me to talk with you today, and I hope that you found the conversation, hopefully you found it to be insightful and motivational, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thank you, ma'am, for your very illustrative lecture on the topic, creating harmony in the classroom.
Yes.
Now, after this very useful and fruitful keynote speech, the dais is open for the discussion. So I invite questions and opinions from the delegates. Please delegates, please participants. I would like to invite Dr. Swanand Shukla, sir. Please, sir.
Good evening, Dr. Bedkar, sir, Principal, sir, Prakash, sir, and the organizing committee. And thank you very much, ma'am, for your wonderful presentation today we have. So definitely the class harmony, it facilitates the teaching learning process very well. If there's no harmony, it really gets disturbed then everything. So what are the points you said? They are very correct and very perfect. We have to follow them. It is a kind of a relationship between teacher and a student learner. It is a relationship between a teacher and the parents. It is a relationship between the students and students themselves also. So all that environment, in toto, it acts for learning process, what I feel. So many of the times, my question is, many of the times it happens that in the classroom, when we are having a good number of students sitting in front of us, we create, in our mind, some prejudices about the students. And we carry them for a long time. And that impression comes in an assessment process. So that is my first question. And second question is, nowadays the parents are changing their mentality. Initially we used to say that teachers are another parent of the child, because 8 hours they are sitting in front of that person. But nowadays the things are changing, and the psychology of parents are also changing. And they're not readily accepting the problems with their kid. And they're putting a blame on school or maybe the university or maybe the teacher. And we are always a culprit, we are always victim of this process. So what do you think about this? So please comment on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is a fantastic question. So the first one you talked about was about prejudices and how do we overcome those. So I think what we have to do is to be able to know ourselves well enough to know that we do have prejudice. Everybody does. So you can't say, oh, I'm not prejudiced. We do. We're all prejudiced. It might not all be in the same way. So we have to acknowledge that and then make sure that we are self-aware enough to know that those come into play and where they come into play, and make sure that we are purposely not interjecting those into our classroom setting. So that would be the very first one. As far as parents, you are absolutely right. So I've been teaching for 31 years now, and it's changed a whole lot with the parents. So I think when we start to bring them in as partners and we work together with the parents, we have a better chance of succeeding with them. So we don't want to say your child's doing this and that, because we already know that doesn't work. So when we start to bring it together and we have an open dialogue where parents feel that their child that can do no wrong, that we start to build those relationships. It's all about building relationships. Honestly, if you had 2 years with these parents, you'd probably have better success, because building relationships with others takes time. So by the time that you start to build those, your children in your classroom are almost near the end of the year. So parents feel that security to discuss things with you. Not always, but sometimes.
Oh, you would like to hear from me? Okay. So I'm sorry. I apologize. So I want to just comment on what Mrs. Jones has said. And that is, number one, building the relationships with the parents is very vital, especially the younger kids. Like Mrs. Jones, I am in my 31st year of education as well. And I have seen parenting go from good to not so good. I can reflect back on when I was in school, my siblings and I, where we had both parents involved in our daily lives and in our education as well. And so have most of the teachers. However, in today's world, we are faced with a lot of single parents, parents that are very, very young, parents that do not seem to place a value on education as our parents did. And when that happens, we have to figure out ways of how we can connect with those parents to get them on our side, to get the support from the parents, and also support the parents as well. It is not always easy. We face challenges every day with parental involvement and with the behaviors of some students. However, we press forward. We don't give in. Most of us don't. And one of the things that was also mentioned was that all of us, no matter who, we all have our own prejudice inside of us. We have to learn to get beyond that and realize that each kid that we have deserves an opportunity to learn. And if we can get past that, we can move some mountains and educate our kids, as well as do our best to educate the parents as well. And that's one of the things that I've noticed with Mrs. Jones, that she does that a lot. I do it a lot. I mean, being a minority myself, I know the challenges that we face, but I also know that if given the chance and the opportunity, we can thrive in education and in anything we all choose to do. So we have to all learn to work together for the betterment of the children. You're
I would like to request participants, if you have any question or if you want to express your opinion about the keynote speech, please, participants and delegates, please.
Thank you very much for Principal Dr. Bedkar, sir. This session is very informative, knowledgeable, and very nice presentation, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else, please?
Yes, sir. I want to ask one more question. It is regarding the classroom size. How if the small classroom is there, whether it facilitates more means a better education, or the large classes. Because the interaction I had not seen in a large classes as such, but we can reach personally, individually to the persons in a small group. So, what do you think about this? Thank you.
That's
We both
another great
agree to
question.
that.
All right. So I think I'll answer first, and then I'll let my Mr. Harris answer too on that. So I had 27 kindergarten students at the beginning of the school year. 27 is a lot of students for one teacher. It's not developmentally appropriate, but we are having troubles finding teachers in the United States to fill these positions. So we ended up finding somebody, and we ended up with smaller class sizes as a result. When I first started teaching, I had 12 children. 12 children when I first started teaching, and we were able to do economics. Again, it was back when 30 years ago, but I was able to teach how to start their own kind of little business, gave them some money, and then we were able to they were able to spend the money, and they realized, oh boy, I need to I need to go ahead and work down my prices. So you're able to do more interesting projects when you have smaller class sizes. It's easier to manage. So when my children are sick and I have smaller numbers, you can feel a difference in the classroom environment. When you start having 27 children in the classroom, they take up a lot of room, and you are managing behavior. So what I like to do is to break them up into smaller groups sooner, so that way it's more manageable than doing the whole group. But class sizes do make a difference. Mr. Harris?
Yes, I would agree.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
I would agree. In this day and age, the size of your class, especially for the younger students, it really does make a difference. I can reflect back my first or second year of teaching. I was teaching in the upper grades, and I had 28 students. The maximum at the time was 31. And then all of a sudden, I noticed that my numbers were increasing, and I was teaching 32 students, fifth grade. And I was very successful, and I think that success was due to the fact that I didn't miss a day. I was there at work every day with my students, making sure they were learning. No one else could teach them like I taught them. But then again, that was 30 years ago. In today's world, the class size makes a huge difference. I have seen that not just with my building, but with other buildings in our corporation. For example, we have another school that has maybe 25 kids in a third grade level. And so with those 25 kids, they have 2 teachers. Their success rate is greater than ours, whereas we have 70 kids in that same grade level with just 3 teachers. and the teachers are stressed due to a lot of the behaviors, but also because there's a lot of kids with a lot of needs that the teachers are not able to address because of the size of the class. And that's true with the kindergarten class. We were able to get another teacher mid-year. However, Mrs. Jones is teaching a vital part of the kindergarten curriculum to that class because the teacher that we hired does not know how to teach the foundations that the students need. So Mrs. Jones has agreed to take that class of students with her during the 45 minutes that's necessary for that. Otherwise, those kids would be left further behind. Mrs. Jones is teaching the teacher as well on how to, she's modeling and teaching how that program needs to be taught. So when we look at those kids, once they go back to the classroom, I have noticed that those students are, the ones that are in Mrs. Jones's room are getting more attention. More group work is being held, whereas before there was just too much. And I see that also in my higher grades. I'm sorry, my radio. I see that in my higher grades as well, where my higher grades have about 28, 29 students. And it's kind of difficult for those teachers, even the veteran teachers, to teach those students. So yes, the class size makes a huge difference.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody with any more question, please?
नमस्ते मैडम। मैडम आपका स्वागत है और सुंदर कार्यक्रम के लिए आपका बहुत बहुत आभार। मेरा सवाल है कि सद्भावना को आज की तकनीकी टेक्नोलॉजी क्या प्रभावित करती है? अगर प्रभावित करती है तो इसके उपाय क्या करने चाहिए?
Ma'am, he is telling that the lecture was very wonderful and he enjoyed it very well and he got lot of tips for the improvement in teaching learning process. And he wants to ask a question that today is the world of technology. So what is the role of advanced technology in the process of teaching and learning? Please, ma'am.
Okay, so right now I have the other class coming in, so I missed some of that question. So 1 second. I'm in the hallway.
Ma'am, he is asking that
Okay.
today is the world of advanced technology and what is the impact of technology in teaching learning process? Please.
So the learning process with computers, and is that what you're asking? Technology with computers? Yes? Okay, so for our school system, we were so heavily with technology during COVID that our children were missing so much social and emotional learning that the corporation as a whole would like to limit that. So we are just doing design programs that are for iReady learning and that kind of thing. So our children are not developing, at least at my level, are not using the computers for higher level critical thinking skills and that kind of thing. It's more skill-based learning is what we're using the computers for. So our higher level critical thinking skills are done through projects-based learning. So you're welcome.
I would like to add that if the computers were used appropriately, then we could probably see better gains. However, with most students, they are not using the technology in the correct manner. So we have to really monitor that as best as we can. And like when we have days which we call e-learning days, where the kids are not in school, they are supposed to be learning at home using the devices. However, our corporation has taken those devices away from those students. They are not allowed to take the devices home in our grade level, but in the higher grades, they are allowed to take them home, so they are able to keep up. Here, they're not. They have to leave their devices here at school and then try to figure out, I think there's 5 days that they will have to make the work up. So the technology can be positive, but yet it can also be negative and lead to negative consequences if not used correctly. And with that being said, with that being said, I will have to leave. We are beginning our state testing on 3rd grade iReading, and my job is to walk around. I have to leave my phone in the office, and I have to check the other teachers and collect their phones, their devices, so that no one will have that on their person as they are testing today. However, I must say I enjoyed this and I wish that I could stay a little bit longer.
Thank you for your support, as always, Mr. Harris.
You are welcome. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Honorable Brian, sir, for your valuable thoughts on the topic and about education. Thank you, Dr. Swanand Shukla, sir, for your questions, and Javeer, sir. And thank you, ma'am, for your very wonderful keynote speech and your answers and response to the discussion. Now, after this very useful keynote speech and discussion session, I would like to invite Chief Organizer, Honorable Urmila Dhut ma'am, for her concluding speech. Please, ma'am. Urmila Dhut ma'am.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your warm welcome and how receptive you were, and I appreciate all of you. So thank you very much for coming today and listening. I look forward to connecting with you if I haven't already on LinkedIn. Yes.
Thank you, sir, for your concluding words about the keynote speech. Now, at the end, I would like to invite here Honorable Dr. Vanita Ramteke, ma'am, for vote of thanks. Please, ma'am, Dr. Vanita Ramteke, ma'am. Okay, sir.
Sir, 1 second, sir, please send me the feedback link, sir, please.
Now I am here for vote of thanks. First of all, I would like to thank Honorable Chief Guest and keynote
Sir,
speaker.
I am there. Sir, Dr. Karan, sir, I am there.
Yes. Please, ma'am, please, Ramteke, ma'am.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Today's honorable keynote speaker Christian Jordan Man from Mishawaka, USA. Respected Principal and Chief Organizer, Dr. Bedkar Sir, and Dr. Urmila Dhut Madam. All respected academicians, research student, and all student participants. I take the privilege of proposing a vote of thanks on behalf of Sri Kumar Swami Mahavidyalaya, Ausa, and Government College of Nanded, Government College of Education, Nanded. I would like to express a sincere gratitude and thanks to our esteemed keynote speaker, Christian Jones ma'am, for sharing her valuable thoughts on creating harmony in the classroom. In which she stated her thoughts relating to social and emotional learning, wherein parents should work as partners, and she has written her thoughts in the book Teacher's Mindset, and in that she has stated that growth mindset is also one of the important aspect which develops harmony in the classroom between the student and the teacher. And also she has spoke up on group dynamics, and of course and to develop empathy. Thank you very much, Christian Jones, ma'am, for expressing your thoughts on creating harmony in the classroom. I would also like to express my thanks to Dr. Bedkar sir, who is always ready to help and always what you say can we are really thankful, as he is the organizer and we as the Government College of Education Nanded also as a part of organizer. So I'm thankful to both the principal, Dr. Bedkar and Dr. Madam. I'm also thankful to all the participants who were present in today's webinar. A wide round of applause and thanks to all the participants and all the students who have made the event, today's event, memorable. And of course, to one of the important academicians, I would say, Dr. Swanand. He has also he always participates in the asking questions to the keynote speaker and to the session chairperson also. And today our important guest, Dr. Brian, I don't know whether he's doctor, but Brian Harris, he has also given his valuable thoughts and he has also spoken what is the situation earlier and now today, and what is the impact in creating harmony in the classroom. And finally, I would like to thank to all the participants and making our time today, taking and timing and helping us to make this event a very grand success. And of course, to the host of today's conference, Dr. Karad Prakash sir. Thank you, one and all. Thank you very much.
Okay, I will extend the invitation to my principal, Mr. Harris, to be a guest speaker. Okay, all right, thank you. We'll be excited about that. Thank you, I appreciate you. Thank you. I'm going to go back to my students and teach them. So thank you very much. I appreciate all of your time. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks.